Cindy, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am. Did you hear me?
We have Commissioner Taylor still online.
Okay.
I'm going to call back to order. And we are on to our final school for the day, which is Las Montañas Charter High School. So welcome. I'll just ask you to introduce anyone that's going to be part of the presentation today. Spell your last name for the record, your title, and then we're good for the rest of the time.
Thank you, Chair Gibson and Commissioners. Thank you for this valuable time you're providing us. My name is Kaz Martinez. I'm the head administrator, M-A-R-T-I-N-E-Z. First name Kaz, C-A-Z. A lot of people get that spelling wrong, so even though it's very simple, there it is, C-A-Z. And yes, it is my real name from birth. So, and I have a lot of people that's going to help me present to you all this afternoon. To my right here is the school's board president, Ms. Patricia Gonzalez. Do you need me to spell everybody's name or? Okay. Gonzales. And then we also have Mr. Gabe Estrada and behind me, E-S-T-R-A-D-A. Next to him, Ms. Claudia Salas, S-A-L-A-S. We have our CTE and work-based learning managers behind me here, Antoinette Cisneros, C-I-S-N-E-R-O-S, and Jeffrey Waugh, W-A-U-G-H. We also have on the administrative and leadership team, Matt Sandoval, S-A-N-D-O-V-A-L, and our business manager, Priscilla Cabral, C-A-B-R-A-L. We have Sydney Robinson, R-O-B-I-N-S-O-N. Sydney's our PE coach and our health occupations pathway teacher. We have our special ed director, Mr. John Lee, L-E-E. Any other adults? We also have our project-based learning instructional coach, Michelle Altamirano, A-L-T-A-M-I-R-A-N-O. And we have some students with us as well, class of 2024 graduates. So this is their first year in post-secondary. Malachi Sanchez, S-A-N-C-H-E-Z, and Zariah Montoya, M-O-N-T-O-Y-A. And we have 3 current students, Grace Ayala, A-Y-A-L-A, Hanfoush, H-A-N-F-O-O-S-H. We just call him Hanfoush, but he is Elijah Hanfoush. And Caleb Thompson, T-H-O-M-P-S-O-N. Okay, thank you. That is everybody.
Let's be good at Wordle. All right, so first we'll do the public ed presentation. Then we pause. There probably won't be any tribal consultation, but there's time. Then you'll have an opportunity to go, and then we'll do public comment, and then us. So I don't know. Cheryl, are you doing it? Okay.
Okay, good afternoon, Chair Gibson and Commissioners. My name is Cheryl Rowe, R-O-W-E, Authorizing Practices Administrator for the Charter Schools Division. I'm here to provide the PED evaluation for Las Montañas Charter High School. Does that sound okay, Cindy?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. CSD conducted our renewal visit to Las Montañas Charter High School on September 16th, 2024. Lucy Valenzuela and I visited the school in person, and Dr. Bridget Russell, Martika Davis, and Ken Norris joined remotely. Las Montañas Charter High School opened in 2007 with Las Cruces Public Schools as their authorizer. The school changed authorizers in 2015 when they renewed their charter with the Public Education Commission. This is their third renewal application with the PEC. The mission of Las Montañas Charter High School is to develop the academic potential and personal character of each student by engaging and valuing the student, family, and community partnership. Students will work to prepare for and meet the challenges of a post-secondary or workforce environment for a globally diverse society. The Charter Schools Division recommends that Las Montañas Charter High School be renewed for a term of 5 years without conditions. The recommendation is based on the record of the school's performance over the course of the contract term, the renewal application, which highlights adult actions and programs in the service of student progress, and verification of those programs and adult actions during our renewal site visit and annual visits. The school has been designated CSI grad for each year that VISTA's designations have been available. CSI grad means that graduation rates are below 67%. In addition to graduation rates, proficiencies in math, reading, and science lag behind the district and state. However, from 2021-22 to 2022-23, the school's VISTA score improved from 23 to 51, and they received a designation of excellence in English learning progress. While Las Montañas Charter High School's team acknowledges low proficiencies and graduation rates, they have identified areas of growth, and significant adult actions have been taken to improve student outcomes. The school serves a student population with considerable challenges, including high poverty rates, severe credit deficits, and chronic absenteeism. The school leadership and staff make a huge effort to serve the students holistically, making sure all of their physical, social, and emotional needs are met as necessary to academic progress. The PED has published Spring 2024 assessment results. The school's VISTA designation is still CSI grad. Their VISTA score dropped slightly from last year. However, according to VISTA's, point totals from school year 22-23 and school year 23-24 cannot be compared due to changes in business rules. Las Montañas proficiencies have been masked on VISTA's for the past 2 years in math, reading, and science. The school has had struggles with financial performance over the course of this charter term, as evidenced by their performance framework ratings. The school was on a financial corrective action plan, which has been satisfactorily completed and closed. While the school acknowledges deficiencies, they have taken responsibility and show clear evidence of adult actions to rectify the issues. For example, they hired a new business manager who operates in-house, enlisted assistance from a financial advisor and part-time business specialist, and they are making ongoing efforts to improve their financial standing. They work closely with auditors and feel confident that the next audit outcomes will reveal significant improvement. The 2023-24 ratings in the financial framework demonstrate improvement. The governing board has consistently had full membership, completed all training hours, and reported changes on time. When CSD has met with the governing board, we have witnessed a very engaged, functional board who is highly dedicated to the success of the school and the students. The ratings on Part B of the renewal application are as follows. They met the standards on educational program, governance responsibilities, and equity and identity. They demonstrated substantial progress in student outcomes, mission-specific goals, financial compliance, and other performance framework indicators. The school has been led by Kaz Martinez for the duration of this charter term. The hallmark of Mr. Martinez and his leadership team is a culture of continuous improvement and growth mindset in the service of doing what is best for students. School leadership and staff responded to the COVID dip by augmenting social-emotional learning programming, SEL programming, adding a counselor and student success advisor, and promoting in-person learning as soon as it was safely possible. Chronic absenteeism rose sharply after COVID, which had profound effects on academic outcomes. The school cited data which revealed a huge difference between remote and in-person proficiency gains, prompting them to boost efforts to encourage students to participate on campus and provide more engaging, relevant programming. CSI grant funds have been used to address student attendance. To increase student engagement, the school has hired a contractor to facilitate PLCs on project-based learning and integrating content standards with CTE. The school has made other enhancements to their educational program in response to student needs, increasing engagement and improving attendance. Las Montañas understands that a student's basic needs must be met in order for them to access learning. Therefore, the student offers free breakfast and lunch for all students, clothing, backpacks, hygiene items, and more. For students with housing insecurity, the school partners with community providers to address housing needs. The school has a strong emphasis on building relationships and cultivating a welcoming culture, which has been evident during every CSD site visit. The students acknowledged in focus groups that the significant gains they are making at Las Montañas in terms of credits, social emotional learning and support, and future opportunities. A unique and extraordinary aspect of the school is that students are exposed to numerous experiences that help them not only envision a bright future for themselves, but also offers a concrete pathway to get there. The spirit of the school reflects the origins of New Mexico charter schools, serving students in ways that traditional public schools do not. Thank you.
Do we have anyone for tribal consultation?
I do not see anybody for tribal consultation.
Thanks. It's your time to shine.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'm just going to do a really quick introduction and then move on to our presentation. So, Director Chavez, you and your team, Cheryl, Lucy, the site visit members did a tremendous job in capturing who we are. And I find that happens with site visits from other bureaus as well. We get these reports back. We are in CSI grad designation, as was just, read off by the Charter School Division. So we get site visits for that. We receive Family Income Index funds, so we get site visits for that as well. And obviously our annual site visits and our renewal site visits. And every report comes back very similar. It's really evident that people from PED and other people from the outside of the school community really see what is happening on our school campus with our adults, with our students, with our school community that goes beyond, the data metrics that you see in Vistas and other places. We recognize those are low. We acknowledge that. We know there is a lot of room for improvement, and it is critical that we take actions to make those improvements. And we try to highlight that in our application. We're going to try to highlight that in this presentation. And more importantly, we're addressing that day to day in the operations of our school, the new initiatives that we're involved in. Again, with CSI, with the School Improvement and Transformation Team with Priority Schools Bureau, we welcome that professional development. We welcome those extra funds to help us out. We welcome the opportunity to network with other schools, including charter schools around the state, to share ideas, share best practices. We are an innovative zone school as well, so that is really helpful as far as professional development, funding, and really just getting the encouragement to be innovative and try some different things, which is what we're in the middle of doing right now. And again, I hope we can showcase that in this presentation and throughout our application, and that this, Madam Chair, you and the commissioners will recognize and see that we're not happy with our data, but we do a lot of things really well, and that is take care of our students, because oftentimes no one else is taking care of them. So they come to Las Montañas to be taken care of. When I say taken care of, literally anything that they need, we try to provide for them. And again, I think you'll see that highlighted in the application and in this presentation, and from the actual, mouths of our students that I brought with me today and that you're going to see in the short video that I'm going to play here in a minute. So that's the, bless you. That's the quick introduction. Also, the team behind me that I introduced, there's more that I couldn't bring. I couldn't bring the entire school staff. But any questions that you may have that pertain to that area of expertise or that area that they're involved in, I'm gonna let them answer because I trust my staff. I trust my team, and it really takes all of us to accomplish, taking care of our kids. So we're going to start by displaying a video that our audio-visual pathway students produced, wrote, created, filmed, starred in from top to bottom. It was all student developed and student led. There were, a little bit of imperfections. This is their first major project. I do have to do a little bit of education to my school community about like, I guess, what a charter school is, because they mentioned, well, in public schools versus here. So I have to, that's probably my duty to make sure our students understand, yes, we are a public school. So forgive that piece as well. But I did want to read a quick statement from their teacher. The last couple of days when they were finalizing this, she was actually at an OSHA training with the construction pathway students because they work together. So they were literally like on their own, not unsupervised, but for this project on their own, creating this video. And I wanted to read the message that she sent me last night. This was the first time that I've seen every single kid in my class collaborating with one another without me having to force it out of them. There wasn't a single one of them that didn't play a role in this video. They took it serious from reading and annotating your renewal application to giving each other feedback and sacrificing their lunch to reshoot and edit. It really does solidify how project-based learning and CTE can help our kids progress academically, socially, and emotionally. So I just thought it was important to share that statement from the audiovisual CTE teacher, who's also our ELA teacher, our language arts teacher. So Ms. Missy, please, thank you.
Since our establishment in 2007, Las Montañas has grown and changed significantly. Originally, we were a credit recovery high school dedicated to helping students catch up on their credits. With a smaller campus and low student-to-teacher ratio, we provide an environment where students can receive individualized attention to graduate on time or even ahead. After examining studies on adverse childhood experiences, we made a pivotal shift, recognizing the importance of social and emotional well-being. We recognized the importance of social and emotional learning, emphasizing teamwork, social skills, and a positive mental health environment is essential for student success. This change not only benefits our students, but also our teachers and staff, recognizing that mental health is vital for the entire community.
Absenteeism has been a persistent challenge for schools nationwide, and at LMCHS, it has impacted our student success alongside high absence rates. Data indicated that many of our RAM graduates faced challenges securing stable careers after graduation. To address these issues, we transitioned away from a traditional education model, focused solely on college readiness, and recognized that our students needed a different approach. We began this transformation with a construction CTE pathway, which successfully re-engaged students with a higher absentee rates. Students in this pathway achieved a 14% higher pass rate than their peers, underscoring the connection between pathway engagement and academic success. Recognizing that not all students are drawn to construction, we expanded our CTE offerings to include additional pathways. These pathways not only aim to improve academic performance and attendance, but also to equip students for success beyond high school. While we are still gathering long-term data to evaluate the program's full impact, initial results are encouraging with noticeable improvements in attendance and pass rates.
Students start arriving as early as 7:30 a.m. with breakfast served at 8:30 in the Rams Cafe, a welcoming space designed for connection and relaxation. While teachers meet with their PCL groups from 8:15 to 9 a.m., students enjoy breakfast together. Afterwards, they join in their chosen CTE pathways that are engaged project-based learning that integrates math, English, science, and history into a long-term project. After lunch, students break into two groups with additional project-based learning, covers all subjects in dynamics and engaging ways.
At Las Montañas, we offer 6 pathways designed to engage students and reflect their individual interests, empowering them to explore, passion, and pursue fields aligned with their future goals. These pathways include options in transportation, distribution, and logistics, construction, education, and training, business management and administration, video technology and communications, and medical. Each pathway provides distance experiences, and students have the flexibility to switch paths, ensuring them they are engaged in a program that resonates with their evolving career aspirations. Through these pathways, we expand hands-on opportunities for students to actively explore their chosen fields. For instance, students in the construction pathways complete a recognition process that allows them to observe and assist professional builders on live home building projects, gaining individual real-world experience alongside industry experts. These immersive opportunities not only build partial skills, but also deepen students' understanding of their future careers in a dynamic, supportive setting. The Medical Pathway Program has partnered with Pinnacle Institute to offer students valuable opportunities for career readiness in healthcare. Through this partnership, students can earn certifications in critical areas such as phlebotomy technician, dental assisting, EKG technologist, and medical assisting. These certifications not only prepare students with partial skills, but also make them more competitive in entry-level positions in healthcare field upon graduation. By providing hands-on training and expert-led courses, this collaboration with Pinnacle Institute equips students with both the knowledge and experiences needed to succeed in their chosen medical careers. The reason why I chose Las Montañas is because the school that I was going to, they weren't really helping as much as teachers do help here. And at other schools, there's a lot of students for teachers to worry about. And here, it's a smaller school, so teachers have more time for it. All the students. I would recommend this school to other people because all the teachers here are caring and they help you out with your future and they try to get you careers to pick and figure out what you want to do after high school. So here at Las Montañas, we have pathway classes which you can choose a career to do. We have like education, medical, media, and like a couple others, which other schools you really may not be able to find that. So this school will really help you with your after high school experience.
I got into a lot of conversations about how I felt students and just overall staff were treated in the school environment, and I felt I could express my opinions more at the school. It gives you a lot of opportunities that another, like a public school wouldn't. It's very helpful. A lot of opportunities include like with the CTE pathways and with the CC managers. They're really helpful. Mr. Juan, Mrs. Cisneros help with jobs and just overall work permits, and they're wonderful with what they do.
My experience to choose this school was because I came from another small charter school and it was doing really bad and I needed better education, so I came to Las Montañas. I would recommend this school to others because there's a lot of opportunities here, especially like with government help. If you need a job or if you're looking for different career paths that you want to do, then I definitely recommend coming here.
I had came here my freshman year. I was kicked out of my old place and I moved in with my brother, and he had came here, so I just came here with him. I'd recommend this school to others because it's a very welcoming environment and it's very different from public schools in the way they like teach and the way they go about the community. The biggest thing that I've noticed was that there are a lot of opportunities for work. When I first came here, we had an internship program where you could like work for different places in the city, and they pay you, and, like you can actually make money off of that. Now we have someone who actually sets people up for internships for like careers and like puts you on a pathway for that.
I was failing a lot of classes, so coming to a different school would have been better. There's a lot of more opportunities. The career pathways help you to like be more prepared when you graduate from high school, when you go to college.
I was really struggling in a lot of my classes when I was in public school. I had like a 0.5 GPA, and now I'm improved and now I'm a senior. I'd recommend the school to others because of the community and the teachers. The teachers really put hard work into helping the students, and that's their main goal, is that everybody graduates. Well, we have our pathways. We have to choose a pathway. We have media, we have construction, we have transportation, and much other classes to choose from.
In my past schools, I always found myself needing help from teachers and not being able to get help because they were too busy helping other students. So at this school, I find it easier to get work done because they're more hands-on. I find this school better because the students as well as the teachers are motivating and encouraging and help you with your work even if they're busy. Here at this school, they offer career pathways and they help you figure out what you want to do with your future, and they put you in classes to help learn about it and get experience with it.
My grades were very low, so I came here for a better experience and it had more help here because it's kind of like a family. We get our stuff done. I'm a Lassetto. That's something I was never in other schools like that go by the LCPS program.
Okay, thank you for viewing that. And that last kid there, now a straight A's, and he freaks out if he has anything like below a 95 in any class. So, and yeah, a lot of work was put into that, but we're very proud of him. At this time, I'd like to invite some of the students up to kind of share their experience directly.
Hello. Sorry, this is a little nerve-wracking, but we got it. My name is Malachi Sanchez, and I graduated Las Montañas Charter High School in the construction pathway program, and I'm now going to college for the construction pathway, and I'm about to complete my first semester. And I would say that Las Montañas has prepared me for everything I need to know in college because without their help, I would not have known what I was doing. I wouldn't have even been able to finish the application because they helped me with all of it. Before I came to Las Montañas, I did not like school. I did not see myself graduating. But after their help and their just understanding, they changed who I was as a person and made me better. Thank you. Thanks, man.
Do you go to DACC?
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Zaraya Montoya, and I just graduated from Los Montañas last year in 2024. Because of the classes provided at Los Montañas, I am now studying to become a teacher in the early development classes. Before I came to Los Montañas, I was scared to use my voice because everybody didn't listen to me. And because of the teachers at Los Montañas, I was able to raise like a bunch of things because of the teachers listening to me. They listened to all of my ideas and my concerns. And because of them, I was able to talk to higher ups in Las Cruces to Mexico, like the lieutenant governor. And because of their help, I was able to do all of this. And with the teachers, they treat the school more like a family. And with their help, I was able to do everything. Thank you.
Okay. I'm Caleb Thompson, and I had written the script for the beginning half of that video, and that was my experience for Las Montañas. Our school has evolved and changed a lot since I've been there. I've gone 3 years, and I've grown up with these people and with my classmates, and The experience that I have had here has been like no other school. The engagement, the focus on not only our academics but our emotional health as well. It's like no other. The effort that they put into making sure that we are okay is just is great to me. Ooh. A lot of other schools I feel like try to enforce too hard. You need to do this, you need to get this done or else you will fail. That is not the that is not the case here. It is okay to have a bad day. It is okay to feel the way you feel. They will adapt and they will make the environment comfortable for you. And that's been my experience at Las Montañas.
All right. My name is Elijah Hanfouche. I'm a senior. I also help make the questions with the video and help choose some of the people that were interviewed. I would like to say that the school has helped so many people graduate and has helped some like myself who didn't see myself graduating or even being a senior in general. It really is outstanding that to see the staff uh, continue to be dedicated for us. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Grace Ayala, and I am a junior, and this is my second year attending Las Montañas. And I feel like this school has helped me in a lot of ways with my education and self esteem. In other bigger public high schools, I felt very alone. That's funny. I know I probably said it wrong. Um, I felt very alone since like I wasn't like very close with the teachers there. Um, when I wanted help, it wasn't deep enough for me. Like they were constantly busy with other students and you felt so alone. And it hurt a person who I was. But when I came to this school, it helped my opportunities and know what person I was because I felt somewhat important and I done things I never think I could do. Um, I never think I would play volleyball. I wouldn't think I would get such great grades as the curriculum was more deeper and a little bit harder. So I never think I would like be so successful in school. Um, I feel like this school helped me with a lot, and one day maybe I would love to be a teacher there. Or maybe even do two because I like medical, but that's impossible. But we'll make it happen somehow. And and that's my experience.
Thank you all. Good job, everybody. Madam Chair, I'm not sure how much time we have. Okay.
Late in the day, and I didn't start it quite, but I believe you have 17 minutes and 28 seconds.
Okay, yeah, that's plenty. I don't think we'll take all of that. But we can go and pull up the presentation, please. Just about 13 slides here. The next slide there, Miss Missy, if you would. Okay. No problem. We have 17 minutes. Yes, please. This first slide just goes over our mission. And you know, all of you all are aware of that. I'm sure you read it in our application and the CSD analysis. So we can move on to the next slide, please. Yeah, since 2007, that was the year, you know, our school was founded. You know, we've always been serving students in the grades 9 through 12 in the Las Cruces area. Many of our students do face significant challenges, as you probably read in our application, as is evidenced by, you know, being a family income index school, and just the need that our students have, again, to receive service and things that go beyond traditional academics is very high. So we've, you know, put an emphasis on that, because we found that, you know, as you all know, if you don't take care of those basic needs, then they're not going to learn anyway. They're not going to, you know, perform well academically. So we'll get into a little bit more of how we do that later in the presentation. I would like to highlight on average, you know, we're very high mobility. It's rare that we receive, you know, students straight out of 8th grade, H1s, although that number is rising as the last couple of years have gone by, and hopefully it continues to do so. But typically, you know, students enroll with us, you know, behind in credits based on their age and where they should be in their grade level. And in fact, we did an analysis this year, and the average age of all students at our school is 18 years old. And they're about 1.5 to 2 years behind in credit. So, you know, it's not an excuse, it's just a fact, but that does play a factor in our 4-year graduation rate. Our 5 and 6 year graduation rate is about double our 4-year, as evidenced by the vistas that just came out, I believe yesterday. So again, we're working all of those things, and you know, again, it's outlined in the application and in a few slides here on this presentation about what we're actually doing to address some of those things. Next, please. So this is just a summary of the last 3 years at Vistas. I do want to highlight that we did get that designation of excellence for EL progress in 22-23. You know, that as you can see there, we are in CSI grad designation. Again, we welcome that, you know, that support from being in that designation with Priority Schools Bureau. You know, we don't, you know, shy away from it or say, oh, we don't need that. We do need it. We do need that support. That's a great bureau. Elizabeth Peterson Nixon and her team do a great job. In fact, we were there this morning. We had to leave early to come to this renewal hearing, but we'll be back this evening and have a full day with them and other schools in Albuquerque as part of that program. And we are in the process of integrating those graduate profiles, capstones, and then of course you heard a lot about CT, work-based learning, internships. That's all part of the Innovative Zone program, which we are fortunate to be, you know, applied for and be granted that program, and working closely with CCRB. So, you know, working with PSB, CCRB, and the CSD, we feel that we have a lot of, just like we support our students holistically, I feel like we as a charter are being supported holistically with different bureaus in PED that will help us, you know, get to where we need to be for our students, for our community. Next, please. We really, you know, recognize our weaknesses, as stated at the very beginning. So we've through the Innovative Zone work, and even before that, the High School Redesign Network. I know some of you were here 5 years ago and we talked about that. That kind of started this evolution, and it's just progressed into innovative zones. So providing more relevant curriculum for our students and giving them I guess the vision, the personal vision for themselves to see that opportunities are there for a different kind of life than they're used to and that they grew up is what our real kind of mission and vision is for our students. And getting them to buy into that by creating project-based learning that's focused on one of 6 CTE pathways, which is really, really difficult to do. This is really our first year of implementation. It's been very hard on our teachers. There's been a lot of work put into it. Our PBL coach behind me, Ms. Altamirano, that I introduced earlier, is helping us work through some of those things. But it has increased that buy-in of our students. It has allowed for better attendance, increased enrollment. We're currently at 210 students, where, a year ago we were at 167. So the metrics that we need to see that's going to lead to better graduation rate, higher proficiency, and things like that are in Vistas, we see it happening, but it's going to take a little bit of time, as you all know, for us to really get there. But providing that relevant and meaningful education and experience for our kids is what we're trying to do there. And I'll let Mr. Sandoval here talk about the right part of that slide and the next slide or two after this.
Hello. So we started looking at cross-curricular materials so that we can integrate students' career pathways with their English, with their math, to increase that engagement and at the same time also help decrease our chronic absenteeism rate. And what we saw last year, actually we can go ahead and go on to the next slide,
Next one, please.
Missy. I can speak to, okay. So we had started to see a decrease in our end of course pass rates at our school. That's when we went back to the drawing board and started implementing all the things Mr. Martinez just discussed. But last year we also had 2 pilot programs where we implemented cross-curricular material into a core content class. So we took the students' pathway interest to hopefully increase that engagement and integrated it with grade level standards in English language arts. We compared a standard English language arts course to the cross-curricular course, and we saw a 24% higher term pass rate when compared. We also saw a 14% higher pass rate when we compared it to the construction, with the construction classes. So we've also seen a decrease in our chronic absenteeism rate and an increase in our regular attendance that we believe is due to the increased engagement and the student buy-in. Because what we're doing is we're taking something they're interested in, something they can see the why in, and embedding those skills, the core academic skills they need, in something that interests them.
This time I'm going to invite my CTE directors or managers to the table.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Commissioners. So as we transitioned into CTE and we offered pathways, you can see from the slide the 6 pathways that we do offer. And the way that we are aligning them to core curriculum is, we have come up with programs of study within each pathway. So each pathway has its own program of study that the students will continue on their 4 years of school with us. And so within that, hopefully by their junior, senior year, they get into work-based learning. The project-based learning is throughout, and then capstone projects our their culminating project that they will earn credits for any missing credits, academic credits that they may have that we can incorporate into those, and they will finish with an exhibition of learning that they can get to demonstrate that learning throughout their 4 years. And then with that, I will let Mr. Waugh continue on.
Madam Secretary, fellow commissioners. Yes, so after they finish the pathway, we're looking at the first 2 years of a strong curriculum on campus. Then they should go into a certificate program or something where they're going to earn a certificate, a certification, so they can enter the workforce upon graduation. Because most of these students are not going to college, but then they just don't know it. And so once they have the success on the job site and with mentors, then they're able to move forward and actually get a job. And then someone's telling them, hey, you know what, you should do this. And it's really been successful in what we're doing. So we have various partnerships. We have, like they mentioned, Pinnacle. Pinnacle's a medical facility in town where they'll do, gosh, he does a lot. Phlebotomy, pharmacy tech, dental assisting. He has a lot of those programs. We have Glitz, which is cosmetology, which we're working with WIOA funds, so students can take those classes without coming out of their pocket. So they'll be enrolled and going towards that certification before they graduate. We have a J. Paul Taylor, the local charter school in town. Our kids go there and tutor. We send 6 kids a day to go work with them. Those kids are getting paid. Those kids are getting the experience. So then they're coming back and they're telling their peers of the success that they're having. So the work-based learning part is starting to come together. And with Ms. Salas doing her social emotional learning part, I can focus more on their job-ready skills, and she focuses more on them being ready emotionally. And I think that partnership has really worked in what we're doing at Las Montañas. That work?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think some of these things, we already discussed and highlighted. It just a little rundown of some of the things, the actions that we're taking to improve that buy-in, improve that engagement, which will improve attendance, which will improve, proficiency, graduation rate. But most importantly, and more importantly to us, we'll get students not only to graduation, but to see an opportunity for a different life than they may have never even knew was possible before learning some of these things and getting some of those certifications and being involved in different experiences in the community and with our industry partners. So, to us, that's the most important thing. To see Malachi and Zariah both at DAC in programs that they started with us that's what we want to see. It helped our graduation rate a little bit that they graduated, but the most important thing we want to see is their success, their comfort, them contributing to our local community. Our industry partners are desperate for skilled workers, and we just think that, if we're successful in our vision, then it's going to just make Las Cruces area just a better place, and our individual students. Again, it will literally kind of break that cycle of poverty that they've been existing in their entire lives. So that's kind of why we do it. Next, please. I'm going to go ahead and invite Ms. Salas up here to the table now and talk about the mission-specific goals in our contract that we just are ending right now is based on our student learning community, our social emotional learning, and on a rubric. And yeah, we did miss the goal by literally one student 2 out of the last 3 years in our 9th through 11th graders, but she's done a tremendous job in getting us over the finish line with our seniors. And I'll let her talk about, she does teach both levels, but I'll let her talk about that, some of the things that she's doing with our seniors specifically.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Thank you for having us today. How exciting. I get to do the fun stuff and work with these kiddos behind us today. So I'm going to be speaking towards the student learning community. This is a space where we created the learning space for adulting through a focused curriculum that addressed socially emotional learning, critical skills development, and college and career readiness. Our focus was to really get a buy-in on school as a job, teaching students that this is where we come to work. Where do we work at Monday through Thursday? We work at Las Montañas Charter High School. really focusing on the professionalism, teaching them to really look at the job as we are here to get promotions. How do we get the promotions? We're earning credits. The credits will get us the promotion. Our end game is going to be the paycheck, which we call the diploma. And really focusing on teaching students how to work with all of the bosses, which are all their teachers. How do we teach them to go from one class to another class and really prepare for the real world where they're going to be having to cooperate with a lot of different people, a lot of different personalities, a lot of different attitudes, a lot of the everything. How to teach them to work with the grown-ups and really focusing on those skills that hopefully will help them be successful in adult life. We focus on mindful practices. We have a yoga coach who comes on a bi-weekly basis from the community who shares her time with us for breathing exercises. We do a lot of circles where we have this opportunity to sit together and really share out, really focusing actually on the CLRI component of really bringing their culture into the classroom, making an emphasis of what they already bring into the school and really using what they're bringing into the school to develop the curriculum and really focus on their needs. We have a big focus, as mentioned, the student-teacher relationship, working with the bosses. We focus on developing peer relationships, communication skills, social skills, conflict resolution, relationship skills, and a new one this year, teen hygiene. We really felt there was a need to really focus on teen hygiene and really reteaching those kind of skills as well. And that when they got out there in the real world, they understood that it was important to focus on hygiene. We work with workforce in our community with a curriculum based on career presentations, resume writing, interview skills, and the last couple of years, we added an etiquette luncheon where we take them to Olive Garden. We teach them how to sit, eat in an environment that maybe it's for an interview, a scholarship opportunity, silence your phone, you know, all of those important skills that we think will help them in the future. We also, in looking at the social emotional component, we, as you can see, the students spoke for it themselves. We want to make sure that all students are seen, that they're all heard. Student voice guides everything in our school right now. We have committees where we meet with the students. They pitch to Mr. Martinez any idea that they have. We involve them in the budget. We have a fiscal budget that was presented to us in the beginning of the year. We share it with them. They understand where money is allocated, where it's coming from. And Fush here really wants to tap into the music fund. What are we doing for music? Let's tap into that. And they want to know questions like the vending machines, where does that money go? And having those really deep conversations of how do we budget and how do we use the money appropriately for student needs in our school. Our goal is to social and academic needs are being met. Students feel connected, loved, and cared for. And the biggest thing is bringing anything and everything they can bring to the learning experience from their own cultures and making everything we do relevant to their lives. And those are our focuses for this curriculum that we've developed. Thanks.
Commissioner Gibson, rest of the commissioners, I really want to put some context behind those mission-specific goals and to let you know no matter where our contract goes next, we're going to continue that program, continue those, that curriculum and those services to our students. And then that takes us to our financial compliance piece of this presentation. And I'm inviting Ms. Cabral here, our school business official, to speak to some of these slides.
Good afternoon. So I'd like to obviously address the elephant in the room in our financials. We did have some issues through our charter term this go around, beginning with our disclaimer of audit in the FY22 year. So we were placed on a financial cap as a direct result of that. We were told by our auditors it was a 3-year process to kind of get that cleared off of our books. We did consult with a fiscal consultant, Ms. Betty Seeley, who kind of helped get me in the right space to get down to the issues and compliance issues that we had and really reconcile where we had those variances in our audit. So working with Ms. Betty Seeley, it was recognized that we did need to build our business office capacity. At the time, I was the only one kind of going around taking everything, processing and doing all that. So we did hire a part-time level 2 business official. She was familiar with the work that we were doing and did work at another charter school, so it wasn't really reinventing the wheel there. She's definitely helped the business office become more efficient, and as a direct result of that, allowed time for me to actually provide relevant information to our stakeholders, which includes our board, and providing them accurate and relevant information such as RFRs pending, budget adjustment requests. All of that has been put into a user-friendly kind of report that is presented monthly with visuals to really see where we're at with budget, and having tick marks to our allocation and showing where we're at as far as RFRs and expenditures. So also going through and recognizing the changes that we needed to make in the business office. We did, different trainings with our staff, our secretaries, anyone that is, processing deposits, just general best practices and going through with our staff that handles that. And as a result of that, we did come off of our financial cap and did receive an unmodified opinion in our last audit. So we believe that we are definitely on the right track and taking actions towards, just improving our fiscal standing for the school.
So yeah, we do, again, we recognize that there's areas that we needed to improve, so we've been taking actions to try to address those and making sure those improvements are made, which, I feel they have been and is, you will see moving forward, even in this last analysis from the Charter School Division, I believe they agree as well. So last slide here, we're really committed to just really serving as a place for students that need more opportunity, more support in our community for an institution that they can come to get all of that, but also addressing their academics, addressing their post-secondary options, and like I said at the beginning, just taking care of them, whatever they need, whatever that means as individuals. That's what we're trying to do. And as I close out our presentation, I welcome any questions that you have, about specific populations, our English learners, students with IEPs, any of those special group or those groups of students that get categorized like in vistas, and we look at that. We are addressing all of those areas as well. And although we didn't address those specifically in our presentation, again, we welcome any questions that you may have regarding that or anything else. And at this point, we are concluding our school presentation. Commissioner, Madam Gibson, and all the rest of the commissioners, thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Do we have anyone for public comment?
We have one person for public comment as soon as I can figure out how to stop sharing my screen. Yeah, where have my controls gone? I had them and now I can't find my controls. There they are, thank you. Oh, did you give them permission to talk? So we have Lucky Gonzalez. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Thank you guys very much. My name is Lucky Gonzalez. I'm a business owner in Las Cruces, New Mexico, and I have been working with Las Montanas in several capacities since 2015. I wanted to touch basically kind of on my personal observations of their growth and their students. They have changed dramatically since 2015 and all for the better. They've really provided a foundation for the children in the community to exceed expectations. And the biggest thing is they're providing opportunities. A lot of the students in this area are, below certain poverty levels, and they just do not have the opportunity without Las Montanas being able to offer these pathways. I'm a business owner and I interview people all the time for positions. we see a very big disconnect with education versus real world experience and work related experience. Las Ventanas has been able to bridge that gap for our community and for these children. And I credit them for all their hard work that they're doing. And I see them put in the efforts. We've gotten to talk firsthand with children at the school to see them develop, to see them grow. It's been a really, really great experience, and I applaud what Mr. Martinez and his staff has done over the course of the last decade to be able to improve the lives of these children in the community. Being able to shape and help kind of give our advice on the work-related pathways has been great. There's nothing like being able to kind of mold someone into how you prefer them to do specific tasks. And that's something that as an employer, I'm very happy about getting a new generation of employees that can kind of get it, that they understand the fundamentals, they're educated, but they also have that experience of being able to work in a specific field, and having the community be able to help shape that work experience is vital. Every one of the staff members at Las Ventanas deeply cares about the students, and it is very evident as all of the testimony that you heard before you today. And I cannot say enough great things about what they're being able to do for the community, and I'm proud to be a part of it. So thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
That concludes our perfect timing. That concludes our public comment.
Okay, thanks. Commissioner Beck?
It's really, these hearings are really, really helpful, you know, because all we look at are numbers and letters. And hearing the story behind it and what it means and what you're doing, and that you recognize your weaknesses and that you are actually doing specific strategies to try to overcome those weaknesses is great. And also just your heart. It's a calling to really deal with how you deal with all the challenges you have before you. It's pretty impressive. And those kids were great. You guys were awesome. Really, super. I mean, coming before us and we're up here and staring at you and all that stuff, that can be pretty intimidating. And you guys did a awesome job. It's wonderful. So I'm really impressed, very much so. But of course, I do have a few questions. So I noticed that you said that the students come there about average of 18 years old and about 1.5 years behind. And I understand the challenge with the graduation rates. What I looked at in the most recent Vista was, yes, you're right, that the 5 and 6 year doubled the 4 year. But the 5 and 6 year were still at 40%. And I would be surprised, I'm surprised a little bit that there's not a uptick from 5 to 6, you know, 20, 40, 60. And I know that under 67, you get the CSI designation. I'm surprised, especially with the quality of these students that you have. These guys are great. I'm surprised that the 6 year isn't higher than it is. You just have some rationale behind that?
Honestly, not really. I mean, I think we do lose a number of students as they get older, as they get 19 years old, 20 years old, and if they haven't graduated by then, as much as we try, Ms. Salas works with them directly. You know, Coach has a lot of them in his classes and on his teams. You know, Matt schedules them and is kind of their counselor there. And this was all really before we had Antoinette and Jeff to get them in a internship or work-based learning experience that pays them, because we do lose a lot of them to the workforce at that age, because they become their sole providers either of themselves or of their family, or, you know, a lot of them end up having children when they're 17 or 18 or 19.
Right.
So we feel that if we expand that work-based learning program and figure out a way to keep them in school while getting them paid, then that's going to be a win-win for them. For us in our graduation rate, and trying to keep them engaged in school and not let them drop out, and give them an opportunity to do that.
Turning an
to make a
aircraft
living as
carrier.
well. Yeah,
Turning an aircraft carrier one step at a time.
right.
Dr. Russell, you had something about that?
Yes, thank you, Chair Gibson and Commissioner Beck. I should also point out that PED's shared accountability model means that if someone does 9th, 10th, and 11th grade at another school, comes to Las Montañas as a senior, and Las Montañas is the one that pushes them across the finish line, those other schools where the student was floundering get partial credit. So it's just the nature of the model means that they're never going to get all the credit for what they do right. And they're also going to get some of the blame for what happens when kids transfer elsewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a few more real quick things. I like to do things fast here. The CTE pathways, you just started that, right? Is this your first year for that? Is that what you said?
This is our first year expanding into 6 pathways.
Right.
2 years ago, we started with construction, and we expanded to audiovisual, and now we basically added 4 more. And that's kind of where we're landing right now. We may expand in the next year or two into 1 or 2 more, but yes.
Yeah, so that's wonderful. That should really improve your chronic absenteeism for sure. Absolutely. As an ex-teacher, I'm sure that puts a lot of pressure on the teachers. I think that's a challenge to them, but I'm sure they're up to the task for sure.
Chair Gibson and Commissioner Beck, all the rest of the commissioners, it's been a challenging year for our teaching staff. There's been a lot of management that we have to do and are still doing and still trying to figure it all out. But everybody, like you mentioned earlier, has that calling. Yeah. So we're hanging in there, and we are figuring out. So in another year or two, it's there's still going to be challenges, but I think we're going to be flipping that aircraft carrier you mentioned around a little bit more.
Yeah, it takes some time. Last thing I want to mention on the slide there, when you were talking, there were the 4 little slots, and the last one was success. It said more time on campus. Do you have online learning as well as in school, or is it all on campus?
No, it's all on campus. I think what we meant by that is decreasing that absenteeism rate.
Gotcha.
And getting the kids there.
Yeah, that scares me. I just get scared by that when I see that. And your presentation was awesome. Teaching the kids even how to eat properly and dress properly and things. Those are important to business people. I had my own business for almost 30 years, and I hired a lot of people. And those little subtleties make a huge difference. Huge difference. So that's great. I mean, being able to train them in those little subtle aspects of that is great. So congratulations. I'm done.
Good afternoon. It was actually incredible learning about your school. Just like Commissioner Beck said, it's a total, you did tell a good story on your application. I will say a lot was in here to be able to get an idea, but to actually get the sense of your school in a very different way was much better today than just having to read about it. I am particularly, okay, so actually, I'm going to get to my more emotional stuff at the end so I can control myself later. But okay, so the one thing I would say that I really like is it feels like so when I look at the charter school and authorize a relationship, I think of it kind of as inputs and outputs. You're in charge of the inputs. We look at your outputs, right? And to me, that actually allows for a lot of opportunity for equity, right? Because your inputs can be whatever they have to be for your students, right? You have control of your inputs, and it seems like you all are really taking the time to toggle those inputs right now. And I appreciate that. And I think that's smart. The path that you're on is logical. It makes sense. It really does seem like the listening to your students, really caring for the students, where they're at and what their needs are, is being listened to and actually supported by those toggling those inputs. So, I mean, creating those CTE pathways, the internships, I mean, I will say, even in a traditional public school, high school, those things are important anyway, right? But especially when you know your students are coming and they need income, they need to be able to work, they have to be able, in order to get their high school degree at the same time, to be able to combine them for your students, it's logical, but it also is a reflection that you're listening to your students, that you're being reflective of who they are, what their needs are, and I appreciate that. I genuinely appreciate that. What that also allows for me, is to really look at equity, not just in your school, but overall, right? Because then I can look at, okay, they're in control of their inputs. So what I want to look at is, are your outputs providing these students equitable access to opportunities after they leave your school, right? And that's why those outputs to me are so important, and why I do hold every school, regardless of what their inputs might look like, I want to see them having similar high outcomes, because students deserve that, right? It's a disservice to be like, oh, well, we're never going to have good outcomes because XYZ, right? And so once again, I see that the school is really toggling those inputs to make sure you are getting better outcomes, and I appreciate it. I have questions about, I really do like the idea, the inclusion of the CTE pathways. It makes sense. And I really appreciate it. I'm also reading about, so I do know, I'm a now former parent of Explore Academy Albuquerque. So I know the model very well. And when I saw that that was a model that you were taking and making your own in the school, I kept going back and forth between being like, why would they do that? Why, if you know you're a re-engagement school, why would you pick that? But then I was thinking about more, I'm like, well, actually, maybe it's good that they're doing the 8 terms, because then it creates this urgency of attendance in just this small period of time. And like, we can get you through this term, get you a grade. And if you're back and forth a little bit, we can fit you in at any time, kind of thing. But then I also worry about, if you have high movement in the school, in and out of the school, how complicated that gets for, like, when I think of what that transcript looks like, they're already complicated with this model, and then you have like this extra movement, so it made me even more like, well, maybe it's good, maybe it's really bad. So can you talk to me a little bit about how you've taken that model, and what are you doing differently at your school than, how Explore Albuquerque might be doing it, and are you seeing, like, what are the pros and cons that you've seen so far in implementing that, the terms, the flavors, like, how does that integrate? And then adding the CTE, how is that integrating? Is it part of the flavor category? Are they picking majors in the school? Like, so those are my questions to get a better understanding of.
Let's start with the first one. One of the biggest benefits, yes, we have a high mobility rate, but that's where I see the way we've modified it from Explore is that's one of our greatest assets now because of our mobility rate and the instability we see sometimes in our students. So if we look at a traditional semester-long high school schedule, if they miss 2 weeks in a row, 3 weeks in a row, that's a pretty deep hole they've dug, and they've likely blown the entire semester. If we break it down into these more manageable terms, the students are able to climb out of that hole because they've only missed a piece of it rather than the entire semester. What was your next question?
And so I was thinking, that was my back and forth. At first I was like, if they miss 2 weeks, they missed the term, like they're gonna really have trouble with that term. But at the same time, yeah, they missed that term, now get them back in, right? Get them going on the next one. So I see the benefit.
Time for, it does with the terms and the way the standards-based grading works.
Yeah.
It does give us time for either remediation or acceleration, depending on the individual student's need.
Love that. Okay, so then the other one is going to be how are flavors integrated in your school? And is there any kind of overlap with like flavors? Do you guys do picking majors and is
We
it?
do. We spent an entire semester last year, last school year, with our new students or any student that hadn't chosen a pathway yet. Those students spent every day for one period. They got to experience each pathway. So they were able to make an educated decision on which career pathway best fit their interests.
So is that, so like I said, my knowledge is going to be how the high school programming works at Explore. So I know is your pathways the equivalent in my mind to picking a major in their model?
Yes, very similar.
Okay.
So we've taken flavor, the pathways have really taken flavors to the next step.
Yeah.
That next step to do more for these students. And the way we have it worked out is these students are also getting to experience other pathways. So when we're doing a project, there's two different pathways working on that same project. They have the same end goal or a very similar end goal, but the paths to get there are very different. So an example would be our construction will be, say, building a pergola and doing cross-curricular math, all the academic standards that tie into that. So they're doing the physical build side, whereas our audiovisual team can work from the other side in the graphic design, the marketing, the sales. How could you move a product like that? How could you market a product like that?
Yeah, and they're using the same standards, right? Like which is, to me, it's like so simple and so ingenious at the same time because kids are different. Like it's not.
It just requires a different way of thinking.
Yes, it definitely does. Okay, I think those are like my biggest questions about the programming, just because I was like trying to figure out how. So actually, maybe I could ask you this too. When a student comes in and they are a year, 2 years behind in credits, if they come in half term or like I'm worried about how the credits are like transferring in and out of other schools because I know that that's complicated or can be complicated.
We have a good system in place. We've had some experience with it. The way it goes in and out is really no different than any other school, other than the internal aspect. Me and our register sitting down and
Creating a
pulling the credits
traditional
from
transcript.
the
Okay.
credit, what we call the credit analysis, and making them fit into a traditional transcript.
Which I do know is difficult. So I just had my 8th grader at Explorer went to a magnet high school and they had to create that traditional transcript and then give it over. And yeah, I know it's
And we keep it manageable.
Interesting.
We do it twice a year, so we've kind of gotten in the routine of doing it.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think those are my questions about and it totally I actually love the thought of doing it in a totally different way and incorporating the CTE into it is very smart, ingenious, and I love that you're like able to make it your own. I want to go back to the question about the online schools because in your application it did talk about online kids multiple times, and they're like I'm like recollecting. I'm not looking at it, but especially like their end of course exam pass rate was like compared to the in-person students. So it seems like you do have kids that are online.
So especially coming out of COVID, a lot of what was referenced in there were those years when we were coming out of COVID, when the students had the option to return to in-person or to stay online.
Okay, so last school year, this school year, there's no online only kids?
Online courses for credit recovery.
Okay.
For those seniors that need Edgenuity.
But there's no kids that are online exclusively?
There's a small percentage, like under 10 students total, and that's just because they have some sort of really extenuating circumstance.
Which is fine. 504s take care of that, IEPs take care of it. So yeah, no, there's always going to be extenuating circumstance for anyone. So yeah, that's what I was just wondering how integrated it is to the programming, but it's not. It's like specialists, and it's an exception if it's online only. Got it. Okay. All right. Now I'm going to get into like my other stuff because it is really special the way that the school sees kids. the way that it sees students. And just to validate any of your students who ever felt like people weren't looking at them with a lot of potential, people weren't looking at them that they could be successful, you're right, they weren't. Like, I mean, that's true, that's valid. And as a New Mexican kid with plenty of aces myself, I always say I'm so grateful people didn't treat me like a poor kid. I'm so grateful that people didn't treat me like, that they didn't see me as a poor kid. And I appreciate that you're giving that experience to your students, because that is not, I've heard legislators talk about students that way. I've heard teachers talk, I've heard principals talk about our kids coming with challenges, right? And this negative deficit-based, there is no hope. We are just in this cycle. And it is really special and beautiful to have the students feel seen for their potential and not for where they've come. And so I am just once again grateful for those inputs that you're providing, because I always have been so confused when I hear other adults talk about that, about our New Mexico kids, where, I mean, there's a lot of us, almost all of us grow up pretty poor in this state, right? I mean, it is not an uncommon thing. So it always makes me like, not a little, overly frustrated when I hear adults say, well, the kids or the families, that also, like, no. And I've always been confused with people who are like, well, we're never gonna get XYZ because our kids, or because the families don't care, or what, like, which is just nonsense. And I love that you guys talk a lot about adult actions. You talk about it a lot in your applicant, you talk a lot about it here, and I appreciate it, because that is how we need to talk about it. And it makes sense that your student culture feels that way, because if that's how you're talking about it, they are gonna sense that, they're gonna feel that. And I always have been confused when people are like, well, we have kids who, most of our community has these problems, or they come in and they don't have these skill sets, and I'm like, okay, if you know that, provide it, like, do it, And I want to say, like, I'm especially, I loved the CTE teachers talking about the collaboration you have between the SEL service providing, and then for you to say, now I get to come in and just be like, all right, we're getting to work on CTE stuff. They're taking care of you here. This is being provided for you. So now I get to come and be like, all right, we're getting to work. Like, I know you're getting taken care of in this way. So we're gonna do the other stuff too, right? Because I also think, as a teacher myself, I had that, the good intention, right? Of having students come to me and having experiences that I remember having as a child, and being like, oh my gosh, I know your home life's tough. So you know what? Don't worry about not having done your homework. Don't stress about it. We got you. I'll, it's fine. And I didn't realize how enabling that was to continuing the cycle. Like, I was keeping them in the cycle by being like, oh, you don't need to learn how to do an essay. Just the kids who are in better spaces than you, they have to, but you don't, And I had good intentions. I promise I had good intentions, right? But that's how, like, we keep kids in cycles, because we don't give them access to high expectations. We don't give them access to the skill sets that so what if they didn't get them? Get them access to those skill sets so that they can. And I just appreciate it so much, because I just think of, like, if every student had the experience that your students get from their teachers, if that was in every traditional school, man, would schools change? Like, education would change across our state, just from that attitude and the way that you're seeing your students as assets, as potential, as capable, as able. And so I just appreciate it. It's very touching, it's very moving. And I'm just so happy to continue supporting the school for the next 5 years. I will say I would support a condition on the financials, because I am grateful that, once again, there's a lot of accountability internally. But it's just too much. It's just too much to ignore, and I don't have the data yet to show that the efforts have actually led to those better outcomes. Like, right now, I don't have it. So I would like to propose a condition on financials just to have that additional oversight and have those outcomes just be looked at. And as soon as we can see that like toggling your inputs have created those better outcomes, I'm happy to, move on past it. But because right now I just don't have it, I don't want to like be like, oh yeah, you gave me the good news that it's going to be better. But if it doesn't come to fruition, I do want to just have that additional oversight until it does. But I am just so impressed. I'm impressed with your students. That video is incredible. So good job on that. That's so good. And awesome that y'all happen to include the audio visual pathway to where you have kids ready to do that and interested in it and reading through the application. How cool. I mean, it is serious business, and I see that you all take it very seriously. And I'm so grateful that you'll, as leadership, as a governing board, you've been open-minded to changing. Like, okay, that's not working. Let's change it. That's not working. Let's change it. And I think that's what a beautiful part of being a charter school is being able to do those. It seems like you guys are really on a great pathway moving forward. It seems logical to me that I'll see those inputs. I imagine they're gonna have better outcomes. When you take care of those things underneath, the outcomes just come. You don't even have to really focus on those as much as like really diving into those things and seeing if your little day-to-day formative stuff is working right. The outcomes will speak for themselves. So I'm so grateful for all of you coming, all of you speaking, the students. Thanks for coming back to talk about your old school. That's so cool. And thank you for the juniors, our seniors. Y'all are, I mean, it's incredible. And I'm glad I am so happy that you get to experience school and education this way. So thank you.
Thanks. And I'm going to echo a lot of what Commissioner Burt said, because this school is, it is that safe haven for so many students in our community. And starting from the redesign program, they're just like continually pivoting. We see the needs, we're going to change, we're going to adapt. Excuse me. I had the opportunity, I guess earlier this year, when the Lieutenant Governor came down and we did a tour of the school. And a lot of what those presentations were, we had an opportunity. The AV kids were there, and they were owning their own work. And it wasn't prompted by teachers, it wasn't forced by teachers. It's here they are, and the kids are speaking and owning their own work. There was, I remember a group that had just been to a competition for future teachers. And they got to speak about what they had to do there and the experience that they had. And I went into, and I'm going to loosely called a wood shop, because it's kind of on the scary side. It's like my garage, and that's actually, my garage is probably a little bit better. So, and that's no fault of theirs. So that's what I really wanted to talk about, because you've got it says the building capacity is like 600. There is no way. And for many of our charter schools, they would kill to be in that building. They would, because it's a nice building. But for their pathway forward, it has no future for what they want to be able to do. So can you talk to us a little bit about what that's looking like?
Yes, Chair Gibson, Commissioners, thank you all for your words, your questions. I appreciate all that, first of all. As far as the facility, we're working on that too. We're actually pivoting potentially away from that building to a brand new build with potentially the help of some foundations in southern New Mexico that have expressed interest in helping us and aiding us in that endeavor. We're talking a lot of money and a lot of foundations that that have that kind of money in southern New Mexico. And we also have a plan B, and we're working with Las Cruces Public Schools, whom we lease our facility with right now, for some a CTE like maker space or a career tech center on that property, because there's plenty of space on that land that is vacant to build something like that not only will benefit, our charter, but the district and the community as well. So there's, work being done sort of in the background right now that's coming to the foreground a little bit more as it progresses. But there's a lot of positive momentum around some different opportunities we have to address that.
Do you get Perkins money?
We get Perkins money, Next Gen, yes, and innovative zones, and we have utilized some of those things to buy equipment and get what we have, which again, it is a little scary at times. But now, that work that you see, what was being done in that shop is being done at the education home build on site, and those kids are actually out in the field building a home right now with professional home builders, and then the lower level students in the construction program in year 1 and year 2, are in that shop doing some basic things and doing it. They all have OSHA certification, doing it in a safe way. But we definitely or desperately need, a career tech center to help us really realize our visions.
Yeah, I mean, if you ever get down La Bajada and continue going down, yes, it is more hours, but it's an enriching opportunity to just experience being in that building. It truly is. It's transformative for the students, I know, that go in, but it could be transformative for you as you go in and you talk with the students and you see actually how the students are being serviced and recognized and honored, and they said it. There's so many places in their lives where they haven't felt like they've been heard, they've been seen, and this school fills that space 100%. Thanks.
I just, being the construction guy on the commission here, I kind of suffered with that myself. It took me a long time to get to figuring out that was my passion, was construction. And I think one of the things that it sounds like for me, what would be a very tempting thing for a young person is, the fact is right now with the real shortage of construction workers and people being willing to pay pretty good wages for minimal training, basically, that it's very tempting for a young person to see that wage out there. And so I was wondering if your partners, you have some industry partners, and if they would be willing to help your students get on a path where where the employers encourage them to keep with it and keep with the program. And even if, I don't know how you would have to manage that night school, whatever, but I know that as a person that's, if you're running on a very low income for your whole life and all of a sudden you get a big paycheck, it's like, I'm ready. I mean, I don't need any more of this school business. And what we need is the employers, the people that you're partnering with, to stress that with the kids, but with their other competitors and stuff like that, that they would encourage your students to stay with the path, give them an opportunity to stay with it so they can get their diploma and still earn that living and know that it's really going to benefit them in the future. I started working as a laborer. I ended up going back to school after 15 years and ended up getting a construction management degree, and it was very beneficial. Just to say, it catapulted me quite a bit by doing that. And so it is possible, and they need to know that, but they need to have that that high school diploma to be considered later down the road. They don't want to have to try to come back and get that because it's really hard then.
Chair Gibson, Commissioner Ingram, I do appreciate that. And the industry partner in the construction industry that we are working with, they do actually have an education foundation and an education foundation board. So they really value education, and they do encourage our students to stay in school with us. They're working very closely with us and another traditional high school from Las Cruces Public Schools. And today, in fact, they had a luncheon to celebrate all the students in that program. And yeah, they do stress staying in school. However, I will be honest with you and say that they don't really encourage them to go to post-secondary education. They do want them to graduate high school, but then they want to get them immediately after us and hire them directly and train them directly, as opposed to, doing what Malachi has chosen to do, which is go into the construction program at the community college. But at least they're encouraging them to stay with us and get their diploma, yes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, team, Mr. Martinez. It's so great to just hear and feel the impact that you all are doing with your students. Students, thank you so much for coming here. It's just always like the gem of the work that we do here. It's just always, it's so great to hear from you all. And I just really appreciate the entire, hearing the entire gravity of the work that you all do to support students. I just have a quick question around the CTE program as well, and it's something that's real. I did not go through a CTE program. I mean, I'm old enough where I used to be called VOTEC. I don't know if anyone else is that old. I think we all are probably, maybe not everyone, but and although I didn't, I was raised on a farm, and so I had to I just had to get busy, and I didn't do a VOTEC program or CTE program, but my cousins did. And in the old days, you got a certification in high school, where you're a diesel mechanic at the end of the experience. You're a firefighter at the end of the experience. And I think a lot of times things have changed a little bit from that. And I wonder, just knowing how much work your students are doing, and knowing that there's a fragility that many of our students have in terms of making up credit hours and things of that nature, but also needing to support themselves, families, and becoming, for lack of a better way, being useful and putting their energy and their interest and their love and passion in motion as quickly as possible. And so I know that one of your graduates, you're at DAC right now, and I'm talking outside of acronyms that I know of. I'm a Norteño, so I don't know Diana Community College very well. But I'm wondering, this is a long way for me to say, I think in our state, there's work to be done to make sure that CTE programs are preparing students with hard skills that they're able to join the workforce immediately, whether it's a journeyman in plumbing, or in construction, so on and so forth. And I was just wondering how you all are thinking about that because I know that you're doing a lot of work around creating more doors, or open doors, and not closing any doors during the experience with your students. But I oftentimes see that that's an area where you do all this work and you might get Acrobat, or what is it, Microsoft certification. I sometimes hear that in schools, and I'm just like, what's that even mean? Or Acrobat certification, how does that going to change your life? And I'm wondering how you all balance that out.
Like I said earlier, I'll let the experts handle some of these things.
So Chairman Brown, or Ms. Gibson and Chairman, I'm lost right now. Because I'm thinking
I
about.
just want to make sure you know, sir, I'm an American. I'm not a Chairman Mao. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
So that's an interesting one. As we start to look at building up the rigor, like you mentioned, where we can do these certifications before they graduate, we can. But some of these issues that we're dealing with, like you mentioned about funding in those, we're using WIOA funds So the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act, we actually have the workforce in our office. So she's actually sitting there with us. So I think it was mentioned earlier about kids that are dropping out. We're capturing those. So I know that they're not showing up, and we've talked a lot about this. I know some kids are dropping out, but here's the support before you leave, because I know you're going to walk out that door, but I need you to have something as you move on, whatever that is. So we all have funds for those kids, but ensuring that these kids come out with tangible CTE is an interesting question, because most of our community members aren't looking for kids that can build cabinets, but kids that can show up every day, work hard, think for themselves, and take constructive criticism so they'll come back the next day and not just disappear. So what we're trying to do is build the rigor within the classes, so when they start as freshmen and sophomores, they do the simple certification. So with Coach Robinson's class, for example, they're all doing CPR first aid. That's their first certification. We'll do Stop the Bleed, and we'll get all those ready so when they can enter into DACC, because we are using DACC's Workforce Innovation Funds for free education. So we have a CNA program through them. We'll have the CDL truck driving program through them as well for free. And so those kids are getting that training, but each one's getting a certification, a stackable certification on the way. So as soon as they graduate, they can show those to an employer. But like you said, those other supports of how do you support your family while you're doing this? We've worked with our SPED department. We have 3 kids currently going through DVR, so that those supports will be there. We have 2 students that we just realized the other day were homeless or in foster care. So they have funding until they're 27. We have the WIOA funds, like those are on campus. So there's a lot of supports for these students so they get paid while they're earning a certification, if that helps.
I just think about, thank you very much for that. I want to just follow up. I saw that there's an entrepreneurial component or pathway, and I think that's just like really awesome. I think that I just think about like, you know, like Commissioner Ingham said, like when you start getting money, I know when I first got my $5 an hour wages in high school, I thought I was so rich and was on my way, you know, and also knowing that that's great, and at the same time, also teaching our young people that they can be the leaders, they can be the business owners, and I think I just love that component, and I think it's something that probably the entrepreneurial or business component, I think can be intertwined in almost anything, so that our young people can leave, they can do their work and build their skill set as cabinet makers or construction workers, but with the end in mind of if they can do that and if they have the hustle, then they can lead that. They can own their businesses and they can provide for their families. So anyhow, I love what you all are sharing. I'm excited to see what happens in the next 5 years. And thank you again, students, for coming today.
I don't understand it, so maybe you can explain it to me. Because when I look at your new VISTA score, it gives you a 21% for your college and career readiness participation. And I'm just trying to figure out how that happened. So, you know, someone needs to be able to answer that for me for college and overall college and career readiness participation. No, 100, look up. 100% were successful of the 21, only 21%. See, I just, you know.
Chair Gibson, I wish somebody would explain that to me as well.
You know, just trying to figure this out. Thank you. But at least 100% were successful. So celebrate that.
So a couple of things, well, not a couple, several, that are all over the place. First, in terms of the employers and people coming out of the CT programs and constructions and things like that and having them stay with it, employers could just offer a bonus. You know, when you get your diploma, you get this kind of a bonus, you stay with us. And, you know, when I was in food and beverage for years, I don't know if you're familiar with, well, like even Hilton and Buffalo Thunder or the Cowgirl here or whatever, we would tell kids, young people, because that time you're a little older, it's like, look, if you want to go into culinary, you can learn so much here and we'll help you. And if you don't, we'll help you in any way possible to follow whatever it is you want to do, right? But then on the construction side, doing that. So that's one point. I'm going to be moving around the place. So on your website, I'm looking under pathways, and there's one thing, it's funny that I just mentioned culinary. It is one thing that I'm really glad is not there, and that's culinary. Because as a result of the food channel and all this food mania, everyone thinks they want to own or be in a restaurant. You can get an entry-level paying job washing lettuce anytime you want. And if it's in Santa Fe, they're paying you $20 an hour now to wash dishes. I'm not exaggerating. You don't have to be fluent in English. You don't have any experience because there's such a need just for people to come to work and then come to work a second day, right? But I'm so glad that's not on there. And so thanks for that. I'm curious about something. So we've talked a lot about CTE. Where do the New Mexico requirements for things like social studies and I know New Mexico, where does that fit in to a school such as this?
Yes.
People,
Chair Gibson, Commissioner Carrillo, we embed those standards in the core content areas
Okay.
in our project-based learning.
Okay, it's just, we haven't discussed that at all, which is fine because there's this focus here. I just like, to make sure some of that stuff is getting done on the construction side too, because that's what we were talking about a lot. I don't know if you're familiar with high school that I'm very happy to say that when I was on the board, we allotted a lot of money for, and it's open. It's called ECO, the Early College Opportunity High School. We built a house, from design, permitting, all the stuff that's involved. The kids at ECO, obviously with instructors, they built a house on property that the district owned. And I just thought that was the coolest thing from inception to somebody moving in, because all of the different aspects of learning come into that, business management, math, the whole shebang. And I don't know if that's something you're doing. It was just something I was remembering as being a part of.
It is something we're doing right now. We just started it October 7th, and the foundation was just laid last week, and the framing is about to go up. And it's actually a Habitat for Humanity home as well. So that's another, factor that goes with what we're doing.
It's outstanding. Good. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, he is still alive, Jimmy Carter. He just mentioned, I won't even go to all that other stuff. The housing, I wrote that down, board stability. So, Ms. Gonzalez, we haven't talked about the board at all, but our experience and my experience certainly over the last 4 years is that where there are stable boards, there are schools that flourish. Where there's a continuity in a board, and where there isn't, they're always before us with one thing or another, and sooner or later, they're at death's door. And so tell me about your board, the longevity of your board, and what you do to have all of you work well together. If my perception is you probably work well together, or we'd have, there are issues that would have come to us.
Chair Gibson, Commissioner Carrillo, I just want to let you all know first that Ms. Gonzalez was a parent member of our board several years ago, and her kid graduated in 2022, and she's still on our board, even though they does not have another child coming to our school. So go ahead.
So thank you, Commissioner and Chair. So just a little bit of background from our board and from my perspective as a board president. So this is my first year as chair. As Mr. Martinez said, my son we did come to Las Montañas by choice. We had exceptionalities. We needed to figure out, where was he going to flourish? And I interviewed a lot of schools, and Mr. Martinez and crew were impressive. I have a background in community health and mental health services. So I wanted to get back into, once he was in the school, I wanted to know how he was doing. Wasn't a good advocate for himself, not confident at all. Day one, they were amazing. So when it came time for him to graduate, he went through access redesign. So for me, I was the nosy Rosie. I'm the nosy parent that wants to advocate for my kid because I know that there are a lot of parents that did not do that. We didn't think he would graduate, so we thought, okay, let's figure this out and what's going to work for him. Las Montañas was fantastic. He actually had the ability to graduate early based on the Access to Redesign program.
He kept pushing through, even through COVID. So I had a COVID kid in high school who was very introverted. We convinced him to stay and not actually graduate early so that he could go to the branch, so he could experience college, so he could see what it was like. And the Access and Redesign program, because of the flavors and the way it had the turnaround, it was a very seamless approach for him. It was easy for him to go into college. And I didn't think we were going to get there at all. So it was amazing. As far as the board, I did start with the board as a member. Everybody's been on the board almost the entire time I've been on there. I think 5 years, about 5 years I've been on the board. We had the board president step down last year, and we had I think we had traded one board member since I've been on, outside of the board president. So I think for us, I've worked with other colleagues of mine that are on different boards. That's how I figured out I wanted to be on a board. I wanted to figure out how I could give back to the community since I was no longer in community health at that point. But I think our board, we keep it simple. I mean, I think that's the way to do it. I think sometimes as a board, you can get so intertwined and you can start digging and digging and digging, and then you all just get into disputes of what your opinions are. But I think our board keeps it simple. We ask questions, we ask the hard questions. I never take my parent hat off, but I also, I'm a director, I'm a practice director by nature, by career. And so for me, the business analytics, understanding processes and policies, on top of how it's affecting the students, to me, that's the bigger, it has to go hand in hand. But I think our board asks the hard questions. And I think that because, with Priscilla's assistance and Mr. Martinez's transparency and being open to those questions, we'll ask questions on the financials. We'll ask questions on I was digging on the graduation rates. I kept questioning, why are we not getting as many kids graduating? And when I worked with Mr. Martinez to understand the composition of how we obtain students, because not every student went like my son's path, right? So I had to understand that portion. And it made me realize that the group of teachers that we do have, it's hard to keep teachers motivated to continue teaching with the population that we serve. But I think as a board, we understand that we're taking kids and the school's really looking at them holistically. We're not just looking at them as a number, as a graduate. We want to look at them holistically. So as a board, I think that's what helps us maintain our board. We keep that longevity, and I think that's why we've been successful as a board. We ask the questions that are relative to the community, that are going to impact us. They know I would ask a million questions about how stuff was going in school, because all I got from my son was like, yeah, it was good. That was the only response I would get. So I would have to dig a little bit deeper, and I would do that in session. So I think that that's a real success of our board. We have some diversity on our board. We have, some law enforcement on board. We have parents. We have some good diversity. And I think that because we have that, it makes us all really strong as a board and hold the school and the, administrator to the fire, because, we're in it for the right reason. We're in it for our youth. And so I think because of that, it's made us successful. And this is where going into this new, we went into Access and Redesign. It was a whole new concept, a whole new model. We had to learn, all these blocks and how it worked. And then moving into this new model, I work in healthcare. So I'm always looking for medical assistants. I'm looking for front office. I'm looking for nursing. And it is challenging in the workforce. So to be able to see this and know that this school, it's a beautiful thing because the workforce is needing it. And because they're pushing in such a great way of engagement, I wish more schools would look at Las Montañas the way we do.
Well, that's a great segue. Because we had somebody from yesterday or the day, well, it's all yesterday, but sometimes it blurs one school to the next after really think about it, is we're making boards a priority. This commission has really decided, because of our collective experience with these schools, really doing what we can to prop up boards and make them as successful as they can be. And so one of the things, and I had mentioned this to Director Chavez, was possibly in the next, it's in June, our next conference, having something where it's all about successful boards are the ones that are putting together the session so that others can learn from you. because that's the best way to progress in this area, is to just teach out your success. So thank you for your board work. That's such an important piece. And sometimes people have no idea the commitment they're signing up for on a charter school board. So thank you. Or commission or any. So just touch a few things. I love that you're sending tutors over to J. Paul Taylor. I think that's totally cool. The more the better, and the more people we can train in education that want to be teachers, absolutely the better. The connection between job and emotion. I think it was maybe Ms. Burt that was talking about how, you know, on one hand, you're making sure on the holistic side that the kid is totally well nurtured and well taken care of, and then we're going to do this also. So, because they have to work together. The one has to be solid, the foundational piece in creating young humans that are happy and healthy and prosperous, and then learning their trade. You made that funny comment earlier, and it was in the movie about public schools. So for all the students that are here right now, when people ask you, "Oh my God, where'd you go to school?" And you say Los Montañas, and they say, "Oh, I didn't know that you went to a private school." And that's when you say, "No, charters in New Mexico are public schools." Versus a traditional public. You'd be surprised how many people across in the roundhouse don't know. They think that, oh, you're just on the side of white kids in public and private schools. It's like, no. Do some homework. And because it's really upsetting when your legislators are talking like that. Board stability. Okay, so Ms. Salas, I'm so glad you came back because you walked out for a minute. And Tim and I talked about this as well. Well, first there was the young person that talked about how the day went where you started with some sort of a classroom meeting, and then you had breakfast, and then you had the rest of the day, right? I think that's a really cool way to do it because everyone's there. It builds community. When people eat together, there's something special that happens. You can tell I came out of culinary and hotels and everything else. There's really something special that happens. So I'm glad you do it that way. So I'm gonna.
Her reference was it Z? About how we usually would meet in the morning, and our meeting would be around breakfast, and breakfast would get delivered to our classrooms, and we would eat it as a community, and actually just kind of have a general meeting, and we start, eat, talk pretty quickly every morning, huh? But it was a really good start to start our morning every day.
Well, you would, and I wrote down soft skills, and I'm gonna rate this very personally. So when my son was probably about 4, we would start going out for gentleman's night. And because his mother and I were really, I mean, she's, Lord of mercy, she's from Dallas in the South and all that stuff, but we're together anyway. But anyway, but manners, etiquette, all of these things are so important, and they're not taught. And many people, for many families, you don't know. It's not your fault, but someone's got to teach you these soft skills. And like for Leo, it was when he was, I'm not exaggerating, even younger than 4. It's like when we're introducing you to somebody, you extend your hand and you look them in the eye. Extend your hand and look them in the eye. How many of you have experienced the soft, "Oh yeah, I'm Steve," handshake? That goes so far in construction. You're meeting your foreman, you're meeting your boss. Look him in the eye and extend the hand. Those soft skills, the soft skill of etiquette. And it's just so important. So like for Leo, it's like, where does your napkin go? I mean, elbows off the table. This is not a horse's stable. I was told, I mean, it's just, look at me. There you go. These little things, and they've all touched on the all that stuff. So I'm going to touch on this stuff. And, but it's so important. And I remember my job is, I work with New York Life. And I remember the interview I had with one of the heads of this region. He was hiring me before Thanksgiving. He said, "Can you come back for a meeting after this meeting?" And I said, "I can't." I said, "I can't do it that beginning of December." He said, "Well, can you go to lunch right now? Can you just can we go out to lunch?" And I know, and I was, let's see, at this time when I joined New York Life, Leo was probably about 12. I know that part of what Greg Yepes saw in me was how I spoke with the server, how I sat at the table, how all of these things that you're looking for, whether you're in construction, whether you're in the hotel business, or whether you're in healthcare, how we carry ourselves. And it's taught, and you build that self-confidence, which I know you're really teaching at that school anyway, because you're seeing the whole person. And so they're going to feel more confident just as a result of what you're doing. So Ms. Salas, I don't have a question for you. I'm just commending you and the school on recognize the importance of those soft skills. And then for the students that are here, it matters so much. I mean, I probably interviewed in the course of the hotel business more than at least easily 250, 300 people. So I'll just tell you, and I know when I wax like this, when we opened Buffalo Thunder up here, we were in the Milwaukee Valley, right? So we unfortunately opened the first week of the 2008 crash, but we were hiring everyone in July. We're having our job fair. Everyone from northern New Mexico and Milwaukee Valley and Espanola Valley are coming. And, it is what it is. I'm just calling it out. I said, you guys are going to be stunned like you've never been stunned as to the people that are coming to look for work and how they're going to come looking for work. Okay, in t-shirts and jeans, actually having their cell phone out during the interview, in stiletto heels. I mean, all of these things, but nobody ever taught these people, these young people, how to go look for a job. And so we all went out for a drink after the first day and we were like comparing war stories, right? But it's just so important, these small things. So I just want to press that upon you that are sitting here. I want to thank you, Ms. Salas, for just knowing that and taking the kids to Olive Garden. That's so cool. And and echoing what they've said, the way you're seeing your students and they feel seen. I didn't know anything about this school until today, except what was on paper. And I'm just completely impressed. And that's why I love these renewal hearings so much. The odds of my getting down to your school, going that far past La Bajada, well, unless the Demons are in a playoff, like at Centennial or something, yeah. But I just thank you. Thank you so much for the scope of work that you do and caring for our young people. Thank you.
Okay. So I move that the Public Education Commission approve the renewal application for Las Montañas Charter High School for a 5-year term with the following condition: that the school demonstrate that it is improving its fiscal processes with a goal towards reducing audit findings and repeat audit findings. The specific immediate actions needed above will be outlined in the school's negotiated performance framework. The first annual report will confirm completion of the item listed above, or if the concern is not corrected, will identify the uncorrected, unsatisfactory performance in each item that will be subject to further PEC action.
I second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Gibson, a second by Commissioner Brower. Sorry. Commissioner Beck?
Commissioner Burt,
Yes.
Commissioner Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Armijo, Commissioner Manus, Commissioner Brower,
Yes.
Commissioner Klasisiewicz, Commissioner Ingham,
Yes.
Vice Chair Carrillo,
Yes.
Chair Gibson.
Yes.
Secretary Beck, yes. There are 7 votes for, 0 votes against. The motion passes. Congratulations.
And we are in recess till tomorrow morning at 8 a.m.